Hello everyone and welcome to the Disruptive Innovation Festival 2017. The DIF is an online festival of ideas that asks the question, what if we could redesign anything? My name is Leo and in this session titled Technology Meets Permaculture, a data-driven, mission-focused competition platform, we'll be hearing from Christopher Bush and James Irwin of the Catalyst Agri-Innovation Society, as well as Christian Cotticini of HeroX, who will be offering together they'll be offering their insights and experiences in their world of permaculture. In a moment, I'll pass things over to Chris, who's joining us over in Canada, who's going to be facilitating the discussion today and helping it flow for the next 45 minutes or so. And for those of you joining us here live today at the DIF, remember that you can post your comments and questions on the session page in the chat function just below this video stream. And we implore you to do so. It's an interactive festival of ideas, so put your comments and questions to Chris, James, and Christian, and they'll try and integrate it into their discussion today. And you can also ask questions or comments on Twitter using the hashtag ThinkDiff, and they'll try their best to address and answer your questions. So, without any further ado, you've heard enough from me. Chris, it's over to you.
Thanks, Leo. Yeah, and joined today by my business partner, James Irwin. You're going to hear a little bit more from him later. And basically, we're going to talk today about how over the last decade, I've learned how in the space of agriculture to take things apart in very efficient ways, and how James puts them back together. And as technology is sometimes challenging and lives are sometimes challenging, Christian is somewhere in the world and hopefully will be joining on. I've been trying to work through.
I'm here.
You're welcome, Christian. Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah, well, so thank you
doing?
all for joining us. Yeah, good. Christian, welcome to the Disruptive Innovation Festival, a first experience for all three of us, but quite a powerful platform that lets us get this information out across the world. So if any of you are already connected or involved with the X Prize Foundation, Singularity University, or HeroX, you're going to hear some familiar phrases and statements. But from what I've seen so far, there's not been a ton of crossover with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. But I think this is a great opportunity to make that happen because, you know, it was discussed at an event yesterday we were at. Disruptive is used today quite frequently and quite loosely and not necessarily having the meaning of the word. Right? And Peter Diamandis talks about quite often the 6 Ds of exponential organization, that they're digitized, they're deceptive, they're disruptive, they're demonetized, they're dematerialized, and they're democratized. And I think the DIF really embodies all of these, and I'm excited we get to play a part in this. The whole idea of a conference that can include millions of people who don't need to physically relocate to reap the benefits is quite powerful, and one of the ways that we are going to disrupt the world. It's called Technology Meets Permaculture, where we leverage multiple exponentially accelerating technologies to embrace and understand nature, which is a reversal of what's been done for a long time. The last 100 years of advances in agriculture have really been about brute force. We decide what we want and we find ways to force nature to submit. But we're seeing around the world so many different things that are showing us the fallacy of that. You know, very recently, we saw an article, 13th of September, this came out, collapse. So this is a headline here, where they've realized that through very interesting things, where they accelerated growth of algae to feed plankton, it actually turned that food into junk food. And there's tremendous amount of information out there today that even people that are eating huge amounts of vegetables are still not getting their nutrients because they're anymore. But it doesn't look any different. And if any of you have had a tomato from a garden that was just picked fresh, you know there's a very distinct difference in taste from a hothouse. So yeah, a little bit of a trigger warning in the talk I'm going to deliver to you today. If you love cows, I have nothing personal against them. It's simply that they're the best bad example when looking at wasteful pieces of the current system. in beef cows, 15 kilos of feed goes in for every kilo of food. There's really staggering statistics out there as well about the amount of water that goes in when you come up with the numbers, and there's a lot of ways you can look at it. So I'll leave the water part out of that, but 15 kilo of feed for 1 kilo of food, that's bad efficiency. Cows, it's really not any better. A cow eats plants. It passes 60% of the plant energy that it ate out the backside of it. It passes 85% of the nutrients that went into its mouth out the back of it, right? So the mass balance on a 600 kilogram dairy cow, every day it'll take in 83 liters of water and 25 kilos of feed to give us 30 liters of milk, of which 27 liters is water. So tremendous losses already there. There's 65 liters of liquid, 85 kilo of solids come out the back end. And folks, that is the future of food. Slides in the right order. Yeah, stop share here. Yeah, I had the opportunity to do a TED talk last year called Poop Soup and the Inevitable Global Movement, about how we have to think about these things differently. When I was telling my kids this is the future of food, they said, no, Dad, that's the past of food. Anyway, so there are amazing technologies available today, and we've been working, my team has been working for more than a decade at taking these things apart. There's nothing disruptive or massively transformational about what we've been doing, because we've been working on a linear path. We have been going outside of our realm into other technologies to find pieces that we can assemble. And James, like I said, is going to talk about advances in algae production and putting these things back together. Because when I look at, when you look at this, a little bit of technology, when you look at that, you see something not so pleasant. When I look at that, I see for every kilo, there's half a kilo of money stuck in half a kilo of water that's trapped there. And because of its form, people aren't interested. It can't be used in precision agriculture operations. So, you know, like I said, in that pile, there's fiber, there's biogas, there's nitrogen, potassium, there's micronutrients, there's phosphorus that James could put back together. So, James, if I could pass it over to you to maybe tell a little bit about the work you've been doing, and a bit of backfill too. We met 10 years ago. James was working for a biodiesel company that suddenly there was this explosion of information about how algae was going to save us all. It was going to be the answer to our energy needs. So James's company turned him on to learn everything he could about algae, and he went to work. Now I recognize I've got nutrients, I've got heat, I've got CO2, I've got all the things that he would need to grow it. He knew he had to find the cheapest source. It really seemed like a match made in heaven. And then we got to the math. And James, if you want to talk a little bit more about that, like I said, I'll turn it over to you now.
All right. Chris, can you hear me there now? All right. So yeah, thanks, Chris. So my story started about 12 years ago, as Chris mentioned, growing microalgae for biofuels. And the economics just didn't make sense. But through that experience, I actually was a finalist in a $100 million DARPA competition growing microalgae for jet fuels. But again, the economics are not there. So I, about 10 years ago, started a company with a focus on a high value product called astaxanthin, which you would know it as the red color in salmon today. And we're selling through a branded channel now, and I'll try to get my slides up here. There's a help there. Like Chris says, a little technological difficulties here. I'm just going to bring it up. So basically, I like to call it synthetic biology or precision agriculture. So at the end of the day, synthetic biology is going to help feed the planet, but it requires precision approach. And growing microalgae is not easy. And it's hard to do it on waste stream products, as Chris pointed out. So I started this company about 9 years ago, and 9 years later, we have a branded channel and we're selling through e-commerce. So that's a well-established company. So presently working with Chris, we're more looking at the bigger problems, which is more around how are we going to feed the planet? So present, we're doing some contract research on synthetic biology. So what that looks like is one of the issues in the planet right now is sustainable agriculture around protein. So where are we going to get all of our protein to feed the planet moving forward? Soybeans is an entrenched source of protein today, and fish meal is the other good source of protein in the oceans. And we know both of those are not sustainable the way that they're doing it. So we're looking at how to create sustainable agriculture through protein. So synthetic biology is a way forward. And back to the discussion around precision agriculture. So basically quality inputs equals quality outputs. When Chris talked about what he's talking about around the circular economy and recovering all of these nutrients, when Chris looks at that pile of cow manure, that's great, those nutrients are in there, but for me to be able to take them in a precision agriculture environment, I need the water to be fresh and sterile, I need the nutrients to be in isolation. In a perfect world, Chris would take that phosphorus and put it on a pallet, and the potassium and the nitrogen and all is in isolation, and I can reform those all back up again into whichever compounds we're looking for specifically. And with a background in microalgae, I know that we can produce the world's best quality protein. We can also produce the world's best quality long-chain fatty acids. So the omega-3s that the world is so desperately looking for. So around one of the talks I had recently in Montreal, I talked around sustainable food systems based upon abundant renewable energy. With abundant renewable energy, we can solve a lot of our problems. So what I was speaking about is with abundant renewable energy, I can produce the world's best quality salmon, let's say, because I can produce the red coloration in the flesh, the long-chain fatty acids, which is the oils that we so highly seek, and the proteins from it. The problem is it takes a lot of energy. The other end of the equation, to make it fully sustainable is how do we recover all of those nutrients on the back end? So microalgae is definitely a key to what that looks like moving forward. The problem is we have some technology gaps within this space. And that's where the likes of the HeroX platform can be a real savior in this place. If we're trying to figure out, especially on the back end, on the front end, we have a really good idea of how to make a mess. We just don't know how to clean the mess up. So what Chris is talking about, if we can use the likes of HeroX to solve some of these technology gaps, that would close the loop on the circular economy. So basically, if we can take this to the crowd, there's an opportunity for the world to solve this problem around sustainable food systems moving forward. And obviously, from the next of these slides, you can see there is some concerns moving forward that by 2050, we are going to increase our world population. So the problem is now. We need to actually figure out how to sustainably feed the next 2 to 3 billion mouths that are going to be on the planet in the next 20 to 30 years. So that takes us, I think, to the opportunity here where we look at where, we're going to get back to me. Here we go. Shut down the slides. I can hand this back over to Chris, and he can take it from there. But you can see that through precision agriculture or aquaculture, we can solve some of the problems.
Thanks, James. So far, none of this, as I said, is all that disruptive or wildly innovating. We're both entrepreneurs. We've been on our respective paths more than a decade each, because as freestanding or as entrepreneurs working in isolation, every time we get stuck on something, we have to stop and figure it out ourselves. So, the model that we've seen we have to get to, I'm going to go back to share here. We have an opportunity for zero waste agriculture. So we all need food, technology. We need food, we need water, and we need energy. We recognize that. These are foundations of life, that with air as well. And by fixing this challenge, we also fix the challenges of air pollution. We have today chickens and cows that give us food. They also give us a lot of manure, as we talked about. Again, 60% of the energy, 85% of the nutrients are passing right through that animal. And today that gets spread on the land. Where I live here in British Columbia, we are the self-proclaimed agricultural capital of Canada. we have a massive amount. I'm told the largest or the highest concentration of animal units per acre of land anywhere in the world, which means that we have a 50% excess of phosphorus and a 30% excess of nutrients. We are polluting aquifers, we're polluting rivers, we're polluting the airways by wasting this product, because the way we've always done it in agriculture is just to spread that on the land. And as technology has advanced, this is a piece that has really been left out. So 10 years ago, I read a story about the cow power program. I was looking for a business idea hunting. I spent a decade looking for the right business opportunity before I discovered something called anaerobic digestion. So that facility at the bottom there was the first anaerobic digester for agriculture in the province of British Columbia, Canada. It was the very first on-farm biogas plant in all of North America that scrubbed the gas, and that's 60% of the plant energy coming out of the back of the cow. We harvested that, turned it into natural gas, and delivered it to 1,000 homes around British Columbia. Now that's just the energy piece. As I said, 85% of the nutrients also go through the animal. So we take those nutrients that are now ready to be plant food, and we produce energy, methane, as I mentioned. The plants that we use to clean the water, to convert, they take the CO2 from the air, cleaning the air. They take the nutrients from the water and hang them on that carbon. That's a plant called duckweed, algae, all sorts of different plants. We can now move that product into precision agriculture operations. And even better, we can ferment that plant to produce ethanol and other chemicals, as well as giving us clean water and food. The food then goes back to the animals, completing the cycle. We are not at 100% efficiency yet. There's still all sorts of leaking all over the place. And again, that's what brings us to today. And what we've seen in the world, when you're looking to do disruptive innovation, if you really want to radically change the world, it's important that you meet the world where they are. So we are in process of creating what will be called the BC Centre for Bioresource Innovation. In a single campus, we will bring 400 cow dairy farm, 80,000 broiler chickens, so meat chickens, 10,000 layer hens, 500 sows, a hog farm, and a 200-ton per year land-based fish farm, closed containment fish farm, all into a single complex where we can bring the world of science and technology around that to break the systems and find out how to make them better. So as I mentioned in the title, right, the center will be a data-driven, mission-focused competitions platform. And data-driven because we have now sensor proliferation, we have machine learning, we have access to the data. And any models, any outcomes that people have start with something that is often not seen and come up with an answer. By making the data available to the world, we can all see where we started to ensure that the outcomes are logical, are reasonable, are the best, right? It's mission focused because we don't care how we get there. Our goal is absolute resource efficiency and find the highest and best use for all of the products. And a good example of that, I'm talking to a screen and you can't see me. A good example of that, with that anaerobic digester I built, I was taking a waste stream from a candy manufacturer that they were paying me $50 a ton to get rid of for them. Right? Working with James, we sent it to him. We fermented that product instead of putting in the biogas plant because we identified we'd make about $150 to $200 worth of gas. James was able to make, I think, $600 worth of CO2 for his algae operation and more than $200 of ethanol to use as a solvent. There's a great example of a waste stream that has a higher and best use. Folks in the audience, I have to share screen. Sorry. So that is the initial layout of our platform. There's 9 different companies involved in that, each of them a specialist on a specific piece. But again, James and I had to go and find all of those people ourselves. So again, that's where the HeroX platform comes in, because it's really key. If you want to solve something, the more eyes, the more minds you can put it in front of, the sooner you win. And my very favorite HeroX so far anyways, and not just because it's poop, but the NASA Space Poop Challenge wants to send astronauts to Mars. right? For 8 years, they tried to figure out that they understood that those astronauts might be stuck in their spacesuits for up to 6 days. How do you go to the bathroom? That turns out to be a very, very difficult thing. And they worked on it in-house for 8 years. The best minds that they had, 8 years without solving it. HeroX. And with $30,000 in prize money in 90 days, 20,303 different groups registered for the competition. They had 5,000 submissions for how to solve this, and it was done. 90 days, $30,000. That is disruptive. And agriculture industry is so prime for disruption because there's pieces of it that we've done the same for thousands of years. We've taken all of this technology. Agriculture tends to be quite resistant to technology. So as the rate of acceleration of technological advances has itself accelerated, the delta between what is possible and what has gotten bigger and bigger. So really, so the story here is that we are building a place that we can run competitions. We'll have all of the cameras, all of the lights on, data-driven, mission-focused. Everyone will be able to see everything that underlies what we're trying to do. The mission is feed 9 billion people, or whatever that number might be, and maintain a planet. You know, throughout the world, everyone recognizes that food insecurity is the greatest threat on so many levels. We have to use the incredible power of competitions. And I'm going to turn it over to Christian so he can explain why we love the HeroX platform so very much. Christian?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Chris. Can you hear me okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks. And you know, thanks for the story you're sharing and what you said about HeroX. Let me share some slides. And I'd just love to talk about the overall trends. And actually, what I'll start with is, so you talked about disruptive innovation. You've talked about technology. A lot of people, when you ask them, like, what is technology? You know, they struggle with an answer. But if you show them examples of technology, they can tell you what is and what isn't technology, but many people struggle to define what is technology. So for the benefit of everybody, I'm going to do that for you. So technology, the term technology is really about the application of scientific breakthroughs, scientific knowledge in practical applications, usually involving taking multiple things and merging them together to create something innovative. So my favorite example is the iPhone. You know, if you go back to the 2007, I think it was, when the iPhone was launched, and you ask, okay, what was the breakthrough that the iPhone represented? You know, it's a great example of how they took a number of practical solutions that came from scientific knowledge and put it into a new and novel form. And that's really the key of how things work. And the beauty of crowdsourcing is it's one of the best ways to take a problem, whether it's pooping in space or anything else, and get a lot of people who know a lot of knowledge to look at that problem and look for new ways of folding those technical solutions and algorithms and approaches into new ways to try to solve that problem in a way that's novel and innovative. And that's one of the reasons why we really love crowdsourcing. You guys, I'm assuming you guys can see my screen. And here's the HeroX platform. And so what we've done at HeroX is really create a platform that's basically the social network for crowdsourcing. And we've really embraced the open model. So what we really do is help each individual organization really find their own crowd. And if you can see my screen, this is one of the more recent projects we've launched, which is the Boeing Go Fly project where they're basically crowdsourcing a self-flying drone that's quiet and safe, that can move a human around in a city, in an urban environment. And you know, that type of solution, if you think about it, could revolutionize transportation in urban environments in some really amazing ways. And they've launched this project, and we have over 1,200 innovators who have already joined this project and are you know, signed up to solve this problem. And we've just gotten started, actually. And if you look at our map here, one of the things I really like about it is just, you know, that we've really you know, found innovators worldwide from all over the world, which is super exciting. And you know, Boeing basically has just added, you know, 1,200 teams to its innovation group, trying to solve this problem and collaborating with Boeing. That's pretty powerful. And that is in about a month so far that we've been running this. And you know, Chris, you mentioned the the NASA space poop challenge. So you know, that was a really great one as well. But if we just take a minute to look at the some of these projects here, what's really impressive in my mind about, you know, the power of the crowd, and we're just the, you know, we're just the messenger, I guess, about it. The power behind HeroX is really the power of the crowd. It's really the power of you guys and all of us. We're just the humble messenger. But if you look at the some of these projects we have, and just, you know, look at the diversity in the incentive amounts, and the diversity in the topics and the goals. You know, you've got everything from, you know, synthetic patient database software, which I don't even know what that is, all the way through, you know, a dentures, $25 denture project. That's pretty cool. You know, all the way through to, you know, 3D challenge, social innovation, algorithms, all sorts of really awesome things. And that really just shows the power that the crowd can bring innovation in pretty much any place you need it, whether, as long as it's ethical, legal, and safe. You can bring the power of the crowd. And there's so many people on the internet, and we've done such a great job educating people that the amount of underutilized intellectual capital on the internet is truly incredible. And I'll share a stat with you guys, that 90% of all the PhDs, all the scientists who have ever lived in the history of mankind are alive today. Think about that. 90% of all the scientists who have ever lived are alive today. And that just shows the explosion of STEM that's happened, and it's happened alongside of population growth, with, you know, rising literacy rates, with higher and higher levels of education. But just think of the brain power that represents. It's pretty incredible. So hopefully that you know, gives you guys some good ideas. Excuse me. Our vision, if I can get a slide showing here, and I'll just wrap up. Our vision is to hopefully you can see that, to help organizations, and there's a really great book that I would really advise everybody who's interested in you know, disruptive innovation and applying this incredible rate of change we have in organizations, to read this book called Machine Platform Crowd. Basically, these are the three kind of game-changing innovations that have come from this you know, post-internet era that we're in now. You know, machine, which is machine learning and AI and data, you know, tremendous data access. The platform model of, you know, basically being able to do work on the internet, and transactionalize and gamify business processes that normally were done inside of a black box. And then the crowd, which is, you know, taking the core of a company, and in this book they call it the core. So any organization, you know, everything that the way things were organized before the internet is the core, and then everything outside the organization is the crowd. And our view of that model kind of looks like this. You know, that the old way was companies kind of had the core only, and everything outside the core were either customers or potential hires. It's basically all that you really had outside your company. And so you had an HR department that, you know, brought potential hires into your black box, and then you had marketing and sales that, you know, sold goods and services out to the customers. And our view is that organizations are going to look kind of like this, which is kind of my visual representation of what's in that book, which is that you still have a core, but now it's going to engage with the crowd using a platform model and using data and algorithms to manage the collaboration. And what HeroX is proving with our platform, that it works, and that you can take really complex problems that in the past could never be solved outside your organization. And using a platform like HeroX, you can leverage the power of the crowd to effectively, you know, provide exponential scaling up, scaling down, well, labor force that you can draw on as you need it. And so, yeah, so that's our vision of the future. We're super excited about it. We think it's a game changer for organizations. What I love about it is it's going to allow the millennial generation. It's going to give them the tools they need to solve a lot of the world's problems that we as a species are going to be able to collaborate, you know, online, where there's 3.6 billion souls connected to the internet today, and we're adding new internet connected people at the rate of 2 million a day. And we're going to be able to leverage all of that intellectual capital to solve some of the biggest problems we have. And when I think about it that way, none of these problems look insurmountable, because at that scale, I feel very confident that we're going to be able to prevail. So Chris, I'm probably out of time, so I will pass the baton back to you, and hopefully we'll have some time for some questions.
Thank you very much, Christian. It's I appreciate that very much. Again, such a pleasure to work with a group that's doing so much in such an effective way. And I was actually able to win a HeroX earlier this year, to be able to serve at the X Prize Foundation as an impact designer, learning how to build these global competitions so we can bring that power back. So, you know, talking about, if I can get to share screen again, really the challenge as we see it in the world today is that we're thinking about things individually. We think about food and energy and water in isolation, and really the key to solving these challenges is that we have to move up a context, and we have to see them together and really work in that nexus. Again, it's a place where competitions are going to drive this, and where HeroX is such a powerful piece of that. Again, you know, it'd be quite sad to have a competition that you have 100 people show up for, you know, and if we look back throughout history, it's how we have really solved these things. And frankly, of all the global grand challenges of humanity, what we're putting together here in this complex, we're going to hit so many of them, because we do address it's food, it's energy, it's water, it's the environment, it's education, it's equality, it's poverty reduction. It's our program hits at least 9 of the UN SDGs. We have to, Christian recommended a book a while ago, and if anybody can see that, Less Doing and More Living, right, about doing things easier, making life easier. You know, if you try to do everything yourself, it's hard, right? We've got these incredible platforms for the last decade, I've been traveling around the world finding people that are exceptional at what they do and assembling them into the team that we've got here now. So again, we're so pleased to see Disruptive Innovation Festival, because every single one of us everywhere in the world is eating food, breathing air, drinking water, using energy, needs information, needs to support their lives. You know, there's an opportunity here that Disruptive Innovation Festival, with HeroX, with X Prize, with the Alltech Corporation, with Trident, a company, local company we found that's able to do with single-digit horsepower what triple-digit horsepower used to do in separating liquids. All of these pieces, the center is going to let us take all of those pieces, put them in one place, put up a challenge that invites people to come in Goldilocks, whatever your idea is, try all kinds of different ways. The mission is absolute resource efficiency, highest and best use. Use the tool around you. We simply want to make those tools available in a powerful way. So Leo or Sophie, if anyone at HeroX, do we have some questions maybe that are coming in? I see legislative barriers. You know, the biggest we have faced in this effort is status quo, the way it's always been done. There's a very interesting poem called "On Paving Calf Paths," and if you read through it, it says that, you know, because we do things, we've always done them. When we look back, we often see that we've traveled 30 miles in a 2-mile journey. Right? But because we're stuck on things, because there's establishments that want to keep things as they are, frankly, in the world, there's organizations and groups that make a tremendous amount of money from the chaos that we're living in. And we have to find a way to transcend all of those different things. So it's not so much the legislature, because nobody wants to honestly say that they'll stand in the way of progress. Everyone says, yes, we need to solve this. I've been to hundreds and hundreds of meetings talking about collaboration, cooperation, and working together, and everyone claps and sings songs and hugs and then goes off and does their own thing again. You know, we have to think about the world differently, right? We can't think about it in our mono-focused lens. We have to think about all the things that are going. So yeah, I hope this has been really helpful. I don't know if there's any other questions we can answer, but we welcome these questions. You can find the website herox.org. The very beginning of our branded channel partnership from them at catalystpower.org. You can start to see the beginnings. If anyone out there has a challenge that they're facing, if they're stuck on something and wants to come through, we'd be very pleased to make the tools available to any of you now. If you're in or around British Columbia, Canada, they want to see the beginnings of this. There's a farm here, Seareach Farm in Delta, that is an on-farm anaerobic digester processing manure from 350 cows and a whole lot of food processing waste. It was the first farm in Canada to have a full nutrient extraction system on it, where we're able to harvest 95% of the phosphorus. We're able to reduce the water use there by 50 to 90% in different aspects of the organization. This is the very beginning and where we'll launch the platform from. Yeah, so competition care for people who contribute. All of us are trying to do something. Again, if we all try to do everything by ourselves, we have to do all that lifting ourselves. Competitions, I love it because it brings the spirit of cooperation. People that do honestly want to work with other people are going to find the ones that will help them win. You know, we've seen that in so many challenges in how different people come together. You know, my favorite X Prize right now is the Global Learning Challenge, where Elon Musk came together and put up money to make a competition happen for a tablet-based learning program aimed at 2- to 5-year-olds. Google stepped in, supplied a whole bunch of tablets. The foundation went in and installed charging internet infrastructure in 5 villages in Tanzania, people that had nothing whatsoever to build from. Made those available. My favorite part of that is that the winners, the people that take the prize, have to turn the software over to open source. The world continue to build on it. So everyone benefits everywhere that they have a touch point. The world is made a better place, and I could do nothing about the situation, suddenly have those doors open. You know, it's literally in competitions. There's something for everyone that's willing to step up and do something. No, it's not a charity. It's not a something for nothing. This is all merits and performance based, and I think that's how the world should be. Yeah, in developing countries, just some of the questions that are coming in developing countries, you know, again, that's the opportunity. We are so fortunate here in the developed world, in North America. We have so much. Sadly, we've taken advantage of that by being really quite gluttonous, that we leave taps running. You know, you talk to someone in sub-Saharan Africa about flush toilets, and it's mind-boggling to them, right? That we have to find a better way, because we have enjoyed so much for so long. I think we owe it to the world to play our part and do what we can to help everyone. And again, with the advent of internet, that there's a, you know, 2 million people, I think you say, Christian, a day are connecting to the internet, that there's a whole rising billion, right? That as they come available, these amazing minds that aren't stuck in how things are in other places are able to come on it and bring answers that we would never think of, because it's just outside of our lens. We have something called a cognitive bias. Everything in our mind is filtered through what we already have there. The beauty, I think it's Christian statistics as well, they've gone back and looked at the major breakthroughs in the world, and somewhere around 80% of them have come from people that were completely outside of the field that made that breakthrough. That's what's so great about it, is that, again, the whole world needs these things, and with the technologies we have, as we solve them, we can take it to them. Yeah, how we implement the flood of competing plans. The beauty of the way we've set this up is it's all components based. There's a fantastic interview called Back to School with Gates and Buffett. Warren Buffett and Bill Gates are sitting on stage talking about how they manage their lives. And they asked Warren Buffett, you do so much, how do you manage it? He explained that 5 people, he deals with 5 people. Everything in his life rolls up to that. And we've used that model as we put our program together as well, that we've got specialists in all of these different pieces, that each of the teams is responsible for their piece. And we've made sure that they're mature people, that not only are they spectacular at what they do, but their ego is managed in such a way that it's not a barrier, that they're open to being wrong. Because we're all wrong a lot. And the more honest we are about that, the better we're going to be. So competing plans is really, you know, the beauty, and again, what we're doing, because it's a synergy mission, right? That really there won't be things that compete. There'll all be pieces of it. We are taking these global grand challenges and breaking them down into little pieces, so that will all roll up to an ultimate total systemic solution. So, you know, we attack things like nitrogen leaking from barns, or, you know, a byproduct of milk called solids on fat, or a byproduct of forestry processing called lignin. These are some small things, microcosms of the greater, but when we solve these challenges, there's this whole world, the Diamandis calls the adjacent possible, opens up. So really, it's not about that they'll be competing, or that it'll be confusion, because again, it also it'll be a harmonious center. And completely underdeveloped countries, yeah, you know, there's a rising billion, there's 300 million at the bottom of that even, that have absolutely no access to anything. Right, long time ago, Kennedy said the rising tide lifts all boats. Right, again, you know, part of this, if we're driving to absolute resource efficiency, then by design, what we deliver will be the least expensive way to do these things. And if economics is a barrier, or technological barriers, whatever the barriers might be, we are always shooting for irreducible complexity, least expensive, simplest, robust, effective. So again, you know, the things that we're going to develop here, where we have so much, are going to serve absolutely everyone. This is about eliminating waste, right? There's no barrier. There's nobody that suffers when we eliminate waste. And and really, you hear lots of reports that we have to double and triple food production to feed the planet. That's not true. When we have systems, you know, all of the food produced in the world, the average, a third of it, 33% of it is wasted. I talked about the 50% wasted phosphorus after the cow wasted 85% of it, right? We just have to eliminate, please plug those leaks, and we can fix that. So yeah, it's something, again, this is food systems. Everyone needs this. So we focused on the absolute bottom of Maslow's pyramid to address that. So really, this is something for everyone. Right. One of our hopes is that we'll go to places like China and India where we have tremendous amounts of land and tremendous amounts of demand, and we'll be able to install these systems and in very, very small footprint feed a lot of people. So I hope that's helpful. I'm not sure how we're going on the time. I think we're right about at the time that they laid out for us here. I appreciate all of you joining us wherever we are in the world. I know it's going to be quite late in some parts. But again, we are here, we're easy to find, and look forward to anything further we can do to serve in the future.
Great.
Dale?
Great. Thank you very much, Chris, for joining us. That was a really insightful discussion. And thank you, Christian and James. We lost you at one point, Chris, and we've lost James. Oh, James is back on, speak the devil.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we utilize technology today, and we're using our own platform to share ideas, which I guess, very much aligns with what you guys are doing. Thank you very much for joining us here at the DIF today.
Please do.
So thank you very much. That's all we've got time for. I mean, that was 45 minutes. That was great. And apologies for a couple of breakups in technology, in signal there. But, you know, we got some really, really great insights into your experiences and work around driving kind of and the closing of valuable organic loops through the utilization of such crowdsourcing platforms, which allows people to share and learn how they can use water, close nutrient loops, and utilizing and getting value out of things, out of substances that are
through competitions.
Yeah, exactly. Traditionally seen as waste as well. So putting systems in place, making the right connections, and learning more effective regenerative farming practices. And you mentioned that, and you mentioned meeting the needs of 2 billion more. We need to feed 2 billion more people by 2050. So we need, you know, this collaboration. We need the sharing of ideas. We need people learning how to utilize technologies and utilize better practices for the long run to feed many more people going into the future. And it was great to see.
We have the tool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see so many people commenting as well. And I'm sure people continue commenting on the session page over the next couple of days. And you know, the recording of this will be available until the end of the DIF. So anybody watching this now recorded, please do feel free to ask your questions. And I'm sure Chris, James, and Christian will put some time aside to answer those questions. And it was great to have you here at the DIF. And the Disruptive Innovation Festival is a massive online platform of ideas that goes on for another 2 weeks. So there's many more sessions to come around a range of interesting topics, and there's more discussions around the idea of regenerative agriculture. I'll be talking to Professor Weber Amaral of the University of Sao Paulo on the 14th of November. And I think we're going to be talking about we'll be echoing a lot of the points raised here today about closing nutrient loops, producing compounds from organic waste streams that, you know, have great value elsewhere and within an area of land. Not so much around these crowdsourcing platforms, but again, we have sessions going on throughout the DIF that will, you know, carry the conversation on going forward. So that's it from me for now. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on at the DIF. And just a little reminder to everybody at home that you can carry on the conversation at thinkdiff.co and on the hashtag thinkdiff on Twitter. So Chris, Christian, and James, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you. Yep. Bye-bye.
Great. Until next time. Bye-bye.